that are, then you're wrong. I'm sorry, Trump.
Okay, let me ask you another. I agree.
My message to you, that's wrong.
I agree. Do you also think
people were there innocently? If they were just bystanders,
there's nothing. There's nothing.
Let in by the police,
no. There's nothing innocent. There's nothing innocent or bystanders. You weren't allowed to be there. You weren't allowed to be there. You were breaking the law. But let me ask you another question. He called all those people patriots and hostages.
I think that might be, maybe he didn't think it out well.
You have no problem voting for the leader of the free world, a guy who bragged about grabbing women by the genitals. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Why can't you be consistent?
No, not really, because
not really.
Since when? Okay, I still think he's a better leader. I told you the reason I voted for him is because I think he's a better leader than
Give me some of his leadership qualities. Like, for example, half of his administration last time around didn't support him. He says he only hires the best people, many of whom have literally spoken out against him and actually supported Kamala Harris. If you want to talk about leadership qualities, I'm happy to have that conversation with you. The guy who still says he has concepts of a health care plan and he's had 9 years to come up with a plan. Let's talk about January 6th for a moment, since it is the 4-year anniversary. If Donald Trump doesn't say that the election was stolen months leading up to January 6th and doesn't say that the Democrats cheated and Joe Biden cheated, by the way, they didn't. Does January 6th happen? Is Ashley Babbitt still alive? Brian Sitnick? And does January 6th happen? Yes or no?
Well, the thing is that the people, he is not responsible for the people showing up.
Not what I asked you. Not what I asked you.
Illegally. So, but that's not. But
not what I asked.
You know, he. No, whether it does or whether it doesn't make him responsible.
Okay, but can you answer my question? Because you didn't. Forget about whether you think he's responsible or not, which obviously I would disagree with you on. But does January 6th happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election? It's a very simple.
No.
Okay.
The only reason it happened is that he invited everybody down there, and everything got out of control.
And the people that he invited,
and a lot of us think that Pelosi was, and you may disagree with it. We think Pelosi was responsible for and for not putting enough and the mayor.
Right.
For not putting enough police there.
Well, 7 out of 10 Republicans.
That's my opinion. So
7 out of 10.
You can have your opinion.
7 out of. Well, you just said January 6th doesn't happen if Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen. And then in the same.
No, I did not say that.
Okay, you said it doesn't happen.
If he doesn't invite people to the.
Okay, Al, we're going to ask you.
People to an event.
Al,
I remember.
Hang on,
Al. I was going to go.
Okay, hang on, Al.
I remember. I was going to go.
I want to clarify, because I thought you answered the question, but we're going to try one more time because it's yes or no.
Ahead.
If Donald Trump, months leading up to January 6th, doesn't say the election was stolen, Joe Biden cheated, and the Democrats cheated, does January 6th happen, regardless of your opinions of Nancy Pelosi? Does January 6th happen, yes or no?
I don't. I think it's irrelevant. I don't. No, I don't. It does. I mean.
Okay, so the answer is no. Of course.
I mean.
Okay.
That's not the. I think the question doesn't make sense.
Okay, Al, the question completely makes sense, and I'll explain why. By the way, you did answer the question. You said no. That is the correct answer. It is no. It doesn't happen. Here's why it's an important question.
Doesn't make him
Here's why.
Okay, go ahead.
Donald Trump lied. He intentionally lied. He didn't question the election. He lied about the election. He didn't question it. He lied. He said the election was stolen, which it wasn't, and people around him were telling him not to do that. He did it anyway. Now, if you lie and you say something that's not true, you get people riled up and angry. Hundreds of thousands of people showed up on January 6th because they wanted to overturn what was a free and fair election. The comments of chants of hang Mike Pence, all that stuff was because Donald Trump riled them up and they were brainwashed into believing that the election was stolen. Now, if you don't think Donald Trump was responsible, or you don't think it's dereliction of duty to sit his fat ass in the Oval Office for 4 hours and do literally nothing, and you would rather talk about Nancy Pelosi, and you don't think it's dereliction of duty as the president of the United States at that time to not even put out a video to say stop the violence. They begged him 3.5 to 4 hours. He literally did nothing. How do we know that? Because those
let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. You asked me a question. Let me ask you a question. If we would have had more security there, enough to hold all those people back, does January 6th happen?
Clearly, there were a lot of security errors that were made.
Not enough, though.
I'm trying to answer your question as honestly as I can.
Go ahead.
Clearly, there should have been more people there, more security, and they were not prepared for what took place. However, there's a however in there. You've already admitted January 6th doesn't happen if Donald Trump doesn't lie. Number two, if Donald Trump had put out a video or came back out after the insurrection had started and said, I know all of you are upset and angry. Violence is not the answer. I need you all to go home. Make no mistake about it. Lives would have been saved. His wife, contractual wife, Melania, refused to put out any statement on social media, which is despicable and disgusting because that's who she is. She is a disgusting human being. Donald Trump for 3.5 hours was watching it on TV. He enjoyed what he was watching. Make no mistake about it. He was begged to put out a video or a statement. He refused to do so. So this is the guy who you decided to vote for, and this is the guy who you support, and he is the main reason why January 6th happened. Let me ask you a question now, since I answered your question. Do you think it's appropriate to pardon some of those people that are still behind bars for physically assaulting police officers? Do you think you should be pardoning everybody?
If they physically assaulted somebody, no.
It's not if, but it's not if. They did. There were people that did.
Those that broke the law and physically assaulted a police officer, yes.
Al, we agree. So, Al, we agree on that, okay? However, the man who you voted for and your party that likes to call themselves the party of law and order, the leader of your party wants to, and most likely will, pardon those who physically assaulted police officers. How do you feel about that?
Well, I first of all, we'll see when it happens. You know, we're speculating at this point.
That's what he said.
But I think that
he said he's going to pardon everybody.
I think that. Well, hold on. Is he in office yet?
So it doesn't matter what Donald Trump. So it doesn't matter.
We'll talk about it when it. Listen, I'll be more than happy. Well, let me finish. I'll be more than happy to call him out if it happens and you can prove.
Okay. So do you think he's all right? Fair enough, Al. That's fair.
And I'll send a message right now to Trump.
Okay, Al.
Trump, I am against that.
Al.
I'm sending him a message.
All right. I get you. Fair enough, Al. Fair enough. I'll hold you to that. I appreciate that. However,
okay.
Even if he doesn't do it, do you think it's appropriate to say you're going to do it? Imagine if Joe Biden, as he was coming into office, before he was in office, said, I'm going to pardon all those who committed violent acts during the Black Lives Matter protest.
Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, well, that's wrong. I don't know. Has Trump said that he's going to?
Trump said
specifically say
yes.
He's going to pardon those that are going to do violent acts.
Yes, he didn't clarify and say he was only going to pardon some. He said he was going to pardon all. So even at a minimum, then you're saying even if he doesn't do it, he's a liar.
Even if he doesn't do what? If he doesn't
pardon those who attacked police officers. He's planning on pardoning over 1,000 people, including those that still have pending cases. He said it on the record.
Well, it depends on. I think he's gonna. I think that maybe he didn't think it out. Well, we'll see. So my message to you: if you're going to be pardoning people that are hitting the police. Mm-hmm. Then you're wrong. I'm sorry, Trump.
Okay, let me ask you another. I agree.
My message to you, that's wrong.
I agree. Do you also think
people were there innocently? If they were just bystanders?
Okay, there's nothing. There's nothing. No. There's nothing innocent. There's nothing innocent or bystanders. You weren't allowed to be there. You weren't allowed to be there. You were breaking the law. But let me ask you another question. He called all those people patriots.
Yeah,
and
well,
hostages.
I think that might be. Maybe he didn't think it out well. I don't think that'll go down.
The people that are behind bars right now, many of them convicted already, serious crimes like assaulting police officers and destruction of property.
Well, I just said that.
Okay.
Brian, how many times do I have to say? If you assault an officer,
okay, but
that's it. You're going to jail.
I agree. But the man who
I
agree.
happen to live for assaulting an officer.
I agree. But the Law and Order Party supposedly is okay with the leader of the party calling those individuals, those criminals, those terrorists, patriots,
like I said,
patriots,
like I said,
Al, are they patriots?
To me, the message I'm sending out, you're wrong if you're going to be supporting, if you're going to be not prosecuting people who are
anybody. Okay,
wrong.
but let me take it a step further. Anybody who was prosecuted that day, are they patriots and hostages, like Donald Trump called them all?
Anybody who did?
Anybody who was convicted of a crime that day, would you call them patriots and hostages?
No. If you committed a crime, you're not a patriot.
Why do you think? Okay, I agree with you. Why do you think Donald Trump calls those that are still behind bars patriots and hostages? Why do you think that is?
I think maybe he hasn't really detailed things out. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that he's going to let people go. And I think that we should call him out. If you're gonna, there were some people there. They were just for troublemakers.
Okay,
and there wasn't enough.
All right.
Police.
Well, we agree.
And those people. If I go,
yep.
Let me tell you something. Just this weekend, we had some homeless people that are staying in our private property at a townhome complex.
Yeah,
I live in a townhome complex, and I'm a neighborhood. I'm a community watch captain.
Yeah.
Okay, for our community,
okay.
And I don't have the authority.
Yeah.
To throw those guys out.
Well, don't do what George Zimmerman
they're on
did.
my private property.
Yeah. Okay, Al, in closing, because I got to run to the next caller.
If I would have got mad at the police and hit them or hit that, guess what? Guess who's going to jail?
I understand. I wouldn't call you a patriot.
And they have every right to arrest me.
Donald, if you were wearing a MAGA hat, Donald Trump and MAGA would call you a patriot or a hostage. Al, I'll hold you to it. Well, call back when Donald Trump, comes into office, and we'll see who he pardons. I don't think anybody should be pardoned. That's my personal opinion, but I appreciate your call. Thank you, Al. 702